Friedrich Nietzsche. The name still sends a chill through history. Not just a philosopher, not just a rebel. He was a seismic force of thought, a man who carved through centuries of faith, morality, and illusion like lightning splitting the sky. His words weren't written, they were bled. He didn't just think outside the box, he set the box on fire. But beneath all the brilliance was a heart, and beneath that heart was a wound. Most people know Nietzsche as the madman of philosophy, the stormwalker, the one who whispered from the abyss. They quote him on strength, on suffering, on monsters. He who fights with monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster. What does not kill me makes me stronger. But they don't know what almost killed him, what cracked him open, what turned a man of words into a ghost. It wasn't war, it wasn't failure. It was something far more human, far more brutal. A woman. Her name was Lou Salome, and she didn't just haunt Nietzsche. She ignited him, then shattered him, then lived on while he disappeared into madness. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. Lou wasn't just beautiful. She was luminous, a mind sharpened like a blade, a soul that refused to kneel. She read Freud before Freud, wrote essays that shook the intellectual elite. In a world that demanded women be quiet and soft, Lou showed up like a thunderstorm in a library. She didn't ask for space, she took it. And in 1882, she collided with Nietzsche. He was sickly, reclusive, drowning in migraines, loneliness, and spiritual vertigo. But when Lou walked into his world, it was as if the universe had thrown him a lifeline, made of fire. She didn't flirt, she philosophized. She didn't flatter, she challenged. She met him where few ever could, not as a disciple, not as a muse, but as an equal. And Nietzsche fell, not gently, not slowly. He collapsed, into love, into hope, into the illusion that someone, finally, saw the man behind the mind. He proposed. Once, rejected, again, rejected, a third time, still, no. But the real cruelty, she stayed. She suggested an intellectual trinity, herself, Nietzsche, and his friend, Paul Ray. A strange, almost cruel arrangement. Two men in love with one woman, and one woman devoted only to her freedom. They traveled together, laughed together, slept under the same roof, with Nietzsche choking down his desire in silence. It was emotional, slow torture. Imagine loving someone so deeply that just being near them breaks you. Every smile cuts, every laugh stabs, every shared coffee is a reminder. You can see the stars, but never touch them. Nietzsche's letters from this time. Heartbreak in ink. He called himself deformed, cursed. He wrote to his sister, trying to cover the wound with philosophy. It is not a question of love. Rather, it is a question of something infinitely higher. But no, it was love. And it broke him. After Lou left his life, Nietzsche didn't just grieve. He changed species. He turned from man to myth, from philosopher to prophet. He didn't seek connection anymore. He sought transcendence. His writings became sharp as broken glass. Thus spoke Zarathustra was born, not a book, but a resurrection, a cry from the ruins of a man still on fire. What does not kill me makes me stronger. But what if she almost did? Let's be honest. Nietzsche was never built for romance. His father died when he was 5. His younger brother, 2 years later. He grew up among women, but inside his own head. Ostracized, frail. He once said he was born posthumously, already dead to the world. And then, just once, Lou understood him. And then, she left. From that silence, he screamed through pages. He declared morality a lie. He said God was dead, not out of cruelty, but because he could no longer believe in comfort. He told the world that only one thing could save us now, a will to power. Not power over others, but power over pain, over despair, over the urge to vanish. This is where the Übermensch was born. Not a monster, not a dictator. A soul who has burned through illusion and come out the other side. A human being forged by agony, yet glowing with purpose. A self-created flame. That's what Nietzsche became, or tried to, until he collapsed. In 1889, Nietzsche was walking through the streets of Turin when he saw a man beating a horse. Something inside him snapped. He ran to the animal, wrapped his arms around it, and wept. He never spoke coherently again. For the next 11 years, he lived in silence, his body breathing, his mind gone. The man who wrote of will and power, swallowed by heartbreak and madness. And Lou, she went on, wrote books, became a pioneer of psychoanalysis, married another man, lived a full life. But decades later, she said this: "He loved me more than anyone ever has, and I broke him." This isn't just a story about Nietzsche. This is a story about you. Have you ever loved someone who couldn't love you back? Have you ever watched your hope become your undoing? Have you ever stood in the wreckage of your own feelings and tried to build something out of it? Then you already understand Nietzsche. His life teaches us something most schools never dare say. That philosophy isn't born from having answers. It's born from having a heart that breaks and deciding not to waste the pain. Because pain, unlike comfort, forces transformation. And here's the miracle. Nietzsche turned his heartbreak into heritage. He gave us not just ideas, but a blueprint for surviving the unbearable. He taught us that even when everything is taken, love, health, sanity, you can still create meaning, still rise. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. That's not a quote, that's a lifeline. That's a man screaming through time, saying, keep going. So if this story stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about philosophers. We resurrect the human souls behind them. We don't just study their words. We feel their wounds. And in doing so, maybe we begin to heal our own. This isn't the end of Nietzsche's story. It's the beginning of yours. Become who you are. Not in spite of the pain, but because of it. That's the legacy. That's the challenge. That's the fire. And maybe, just maybe, you were born to rise from it. But what does it truly mean? To rise from pain, to become who you are? Nietzsche didn't just ask that question. He lived it. Every day after Lou left, he stared into a mirror that didn't reflect a man, but a wound, a philosopher's mind, tethered to a poet's heart, torn between solitude and longing. And yet, he chose to write. He turned ache into architecture, agony into authorship. He didn't escape the darkness. He faced it, folded it into his pages, and dared us to do the same. Invisible threads are the strongest ties, he once wrote, speaking not just of Lou, but of every soul we carry in silence. She was no longer in his life, but she was in every sentence, every scream disguised as philosophy. Still, Nietzsche didn't want pity. He wanted your courage. He believed suffering wasn't the enemy. It was the crucible, the fire in which your soul is forged. He didn't want you to run from your shadows. He wanted you to dance with them, to integrate them, to make meaning of them. That's what the Übermensch truly is. Not someone without pain, but someone who turns pain into power, who doesn't wait to be saved, but rescues themselves. And he wasn't writing about someone else. He was writing about you. Yes, you. Sitting in your room with your heartbreak, your grief, your unspoken fears. You are not broken. You are becoming. Nietzsche's silence in his final years wasn't defeat. It was transformation. Sometimes The soul speaks so loudly that the mouth must go quiet. He endured madness, heartbreak, and exile, not to be remembered, but to remind us, even from the deepest abyss, we can still rise. So here's his question, passed on through time, pain, and ink. Can you become who you are, even after everything? Not the version the world demands, but the raw, rising self who crawled from the wreckage with nothing but breath and bravery. If that question stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Subscribe. Because this isn't just a channel about philosophers, it's a resurrection of their humanity. It's a place for the parts of you that philosophy finally puts words to. The ache, the longing, the quiet belief that your story, no matter how shattered, is still sacred. Here, we don't just quote Nietzsche. We become him. We carry his fire. And we remind you, behind every broken soul lies the spark of something unbreakable.